Do you want to win at Monopoly? Hannah Fry is a mathematician. She ran the numbers. Here's how to win. Do you want to win at Monopoly?
All right. How's it going, everyone? Andy Hall here. If you're in the chat, Critical Cripple, hello, Blazing Wizard Pope, James Henry. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. I did that little short about Monopoly, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. I found it interesting because a mathematician ran numbers and plots and scatter plot graphs about what the best strategy is to win at Monopoly. And it confirmed some of my thoughts, because yes, you can win while buying Boardwalk and Park Place, but mathematically speaking, it's not a winning strategy over time. So, I found it very interesting. It was like a 20-minute video by Hannah Fry, the mathematician, explaining how she came about her conclusions. So Raisin Bran. Oh my God, this is the first time I've had Raisin Bran for years. And did you know that this is nothing but sugar? Did you know that this is nothing but sugar? I had it this morning. I usually start my days with a cup of coffee, maybe some toast, an English muffin, because I need the coffee to get me going. But I had some Raisin Bran, and now I can't feel my left foot. Now I can't. Okay, maybe that was uncalled for. But yeah, nothing but sugar. It is crazy. Raisin Bran is not supporting the channel at all. But it says raisin, so it must be good for you. That's right. That's right, Critical Cripple. It's got some semblance of fruit in here, even though the first, the first few ingredients is, sugar, brown sugar, syrup, wonderful, tasty. Yeah, it was crazy. It hit my main line this morning. It's like, I have to share this with everyone about how crazy. If you haven't had this, you shouldn't. It's horribly wonderful cereal. Once again, Raisin Bran, Kellogg's, not supporting the channel whatsoever, but I thought I had to share that with you guys. Oh, so what's the question? The funny thing about Monopoly, if you are just tuning in, I just ran a short video about the best strategy to win Monopoly. A lot of my friends, my liberal friends, are like, well, why do you want to learn how to win at Monopoly? One, I like winning. I'm guilty, but obviously, I'm not all in favor of American-style unbridled capitalism. And when my kids were much younger growing up, I used Monopoly to show them the evils of unbridled capitalism. We might start the game with one player taking an extra $500 bill and putting it in their own, pot, so to speak, their own section of money. Captain Crunch rules, it does. I used Monopoly with my kids while growing up to help show them, hey, capitalism, American-style capitalism, isn't what it's all cracked up to be. Raisin Bran. It is good morning from the West Coast. Simply secular. You're a soldier, sir. In the most positive way of saying that. It must be like, 6 o'clock in the morning over there? And it says Bran, so it has to be healthy. It has to be healthy. The rage is here? I didn't even see the rage here. Well, hey, yo, Rage, talking about Raisin Bran cereal. We're talking about National Socialism in Germany a little earlier. If you want to check out that conversation that Blazing Wizard and I had, it was pretty interesting, I would say. We talked about everything from U-boat warfare in the North Atlantic to why the U.S. didn't declare war on Germany until Germany declared war on it in 1941. Blazing. All right, everyone. Let's talk about the question for the day, right? The morning question. Would you go to the inauguration if given the opportunity? Would you? I tweeted this question. Let me tell you about why I came up with this question. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, before the entire Capitol fiasco happened, and he was telling me that he was going to the inauguration. It's like, really? You're going to the inauguration during the pandemic? And it's like, yeah, it'll be safe and everything. I thought, wow, maybe there's a lot of people who would want to go to the inauguration, even in the midst of all the chaos that's going on right now. James Henry. Brainbug, good to see you. Did you cover the U.S. Nazi Party? We talked about the German Bund, actually, right? German Bund, I think the Rage might know something about that, being up in Michigan, being up there in that section of the country. James Henry goes, no. Jess, no. So I put it on Twitter. I put the question on Twitter, and I was surprised at the amount of people, and I'm checking out my Twitter my Twitter profile right now, and because I did a poll, and right now I got 20 votes on my Twitter question. If given the opportunity, would you go to the inauguration? 30% of the people said that they would go. 30% of the people responding on Twitter are saying that they would go to the inauguration. Yeah. James Henry says, being around nervous cops and never at least say anything positive. Well played, sir. Well played. 10 points. 10 points. Let's see. Simply Secular. For sure I'd go. It'd be the safest place to be on that day. You know, there's so many, I don't know. What is it? National Guard, 10,000, 15,000 people. Has anyone seen the pictures of soldiers sleeping in the rotunda? Let's see. Blazing says, under normal circumstances, no. Under the pandemic, definitely no. Under a pandemic and under threat of right-wing terrorists, definitely no. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Casey Randy says, oh, I just missed it. I think Biden should move the ceremony inside. You know, this is what I think. I'm going to take a little bit of my brain juice here for a second. I think what they're trying to do, the establishment is trying to do, is to let everyone know that regardless of what American fascists, Trumpists are doing, they're still going to run things the way they've always been run. That Trump cannot disrupt, Trumpists will not disrupt the ceremony being held outside. That's what I'm guessing on this. Rage. I would go. Going to be a great moment. And I always love punching Nazis. I think there's going to be a lot of chances for you to punch Nazis right where you are, because there's supposed to be all of these movements, all of these protests on the day of the inauguration. That's what I've heard, at least. I think we covered that story yesterday about the FBI warning that there's going to be a lot of protests going on the day of the inauguration. Me, I'm not a big, under normal circumstances, I'm not a big inauguration fan. I mean, I'll catch the clips. I think a lot of it's boring. I would have gone to Barack Obama's inaugurations if given the chance. I didn't have the chance to do it back then. If there wasn't COVID-19, then my girlfriend and I would definitely go down. It would be one of those things that she was interested in doing, something that I'm interested in doing. But it's just the fact that there's this crazy pandemic going on. And yeah, that's my reason for not going. Oh, yeah. Well, we'd have sent in much more craziness if he was assassinated. Yeah. And Raid says, yeah, we have Nazis walking around everywhere here. Don't have to go to D.C. for it. Indeed. So, you know, the name of today's episode is Christian versus Christian. Yes, we have a story. I have a story to share with you in case you haven't seen it about Christians squaring off death threats against a Christian in particular. But we're going to go to other stories first. We're going to go to other subjects first. But don't worry. we're going to be talking about Christian on Christian violence. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. So we'll go to what are we going to do to? I guess this is the time for the show to talk about funny things that make us laugh. Funny images like this one, for example. Donald Trump is now the first nanny guest star to get impeached twice. Twice. Vicious. I thought that was great. I'm not a big fan of the nanny. Never was a big fan of the nanny. But the idea that he was the only nanny, I thought that was funny. I thought that was good. This one, non-political. I thought that it's going to be such a political show. And so I thought I would just throw in something a little off the wall, a little different, something that maybe we can all laugh at. Maybe. When you're driving through your hometown and see an old friend from high school. Oh, yes. During the entire Trump apocalypse that we've been, I have had to defriend a few people that I know from my hometown, the great city of Brockton, the city of champions here in Massachusetts, which is the armpit of Massachusetts. Not to be confused with other armpits of Massachusetts, because we're like an octopus. We have a bunch of them here. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Oh, here. Hey, maybe we'll do this tomorrow. Simply Secular. Suggestion for a poll, for today's poll. What reality TV personality would you like to see become for the next U.S. president? Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. How's that? Everyone get your answers ready. We're going to do that tomorrow. We're going to be doing the which reality TV personality would you like to become the next U.S. president? I think that is something we could all work on. There'll be a little bit of homework. I'll have to think about it and formulate maybe a top 3. Chuck Norris as president. That would go sideways very quickly. And the last meme. Does Andy count? Oh, well, I have to tell you something. Critical cripple. No one ever wants to give me given just even a small amount of power. If the small platform they've given me on Patheos, I've just been able to cause trouble for the last couple of years, writing my satirical articles. And if you don't want me to have any amount of power whatsoever, because there'd be a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. There'd be a lot of Operation Mayhem going on, I tell you that. All right, last meme before we get into real news. When Trump tries to get reelected, but gets re-impeached instead. Thank you, Leonardo DiCaprio from Django Unchained. That's where that little image comes from. Excellent stuff, man. Dillahunty, TJ Trump. Chuck Norris is a fascist pig, just like Steven Seagal. Yeah, I'll go with that. So, we cannot have the show without talking about impeachment, right? I mean, it's important. We could do a show without talking about impeachment, but would it be relevant? No. So let's talk about impeachment for a bit. It's the NPR story. And once again, all of these links are in the description below, and check in case you need to find out anything more, in case you want to read up on the entire piece. Swift House impeachment forces Senate to chart Trump's political fate. I'm sorry, my Freudian slip was showing there with faith and fate. Did I read that in iambic pentameter? I don't think I did, but it was somewhat melodic. So let's check out the story. And most of you know that he got impeached yesterday, that only 10 Republicans in the House voted in favor of impeachment. One of them is actually someone from Rage's neck of the woods up there in Michigan. He was on CNN last night saying, I'm not afraid of getting attacked by, well, he didn't say he wasn't afraid, but he was aware. He was aware of the danger he was in. Does anyone know the only president impeached twice? I don't know. All right, let's go back to the story, huh? Let's go back to the story. So this is the NPR story. With the swift impeachment of President Donald Trump on Wednesday, the House shifted the battle over his role in storming of the Capitol and his political future from one chamber to the other, with the Senate now tasked with conducting the unprecedented divisive trial in the opening days of the new administration. By moving to impeach Trump for a second time, Democrats gambled that a Senate trial wouldn't impede efforts to confirm President-elect Joe Biden's cabinet nominees, nor slow down his ambitious plans to bring the coronavirus pandemic under control. The Senate can walk and chew gum at the same time, and they're going to have to, said Representative Eric Swalwell, I just butchered his name, from California, COVID relief, helping the president-elect put a cabinet together. We're going to have to do a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see what the Senate does, if the Senate is actually if the Senate actually is able to do everything that it needs to do. Impeached lives matter. Not so much. Not so much. Well played, simply secular. Well played. Let's go back to the story. The impeachment vote opened the door to complex questions about how to conduct a trial of a former president. The Senate has never put a former president on trial for impeachment, and no U.S. president has ever been convicted by the upper chamber. Ahead of Wednesday's vote, questions swirled about when the trial would start and whether Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky would fast-track a trial to remove Trump from office before his term expires next week. McConnell dismissed speculation Wednesday that he planned to start the trial immediately, and he noted there's no way the Senate could conclude before Biden takes office and Trump exits on January 20th. You could definitely see how this works out in McConnell's favor. The idea that, oh, doctor, yeah, lock him up. Lock him up. Interesting. Well, no, I missed that. Sean from the chat says, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced Wednesday that the city will look to terminate its 3 contracts with the Trump Organization after last week's deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Yes, there are Republicans, Trumpists, they're getting a lot of flack. A lot of major organizations just aren't giving money to them, breaking contracts, or just not refusing to do business with them. So if you're Mitch McConnell, it makes sense to have the next Senate deal with this problem, doesn't it? Because one, it's loaded more with Democrats, and so there's a greater chance of getting, of effectively prosecuting Donald J. Trump. Because Mitch McConnell, let's not forget, the Republican Party is in a civil war right now. It's been in a low-grade civil war for quite a while. And Mitch McConnell probably sees this as an opportunity to prevent Donald J. Trump from ever having a federal office, ever winning a federal office ever again. Let's go back to the story. If Trump were convicted, the Senate could pursue an additional vote that would bar him from holding federal office in the future, blocking him from running for president in 2024. Trump has reportedly considered announcing that he will seek a return to the White House, even floating that as a possibility after he leaves office would freeze the 2024 Republican field and make it harder for Republicans to distance themselves from him. So there you go. Not only does Mitch McConnell has an incentive to put down Donald J. Trump's political ambitions, but there are going to be other Republican senators looking to run for real, or looking to win the presidency in 2024. And if they can get Donald J. Trump out of any possibility of winning a federal position in the future, they have an incentive to do so. Hey, James Henry, I suspect Trump will be convicted in the Senate. Well, I think I think Mitt Romney's already put his vote in. As you all may remember, Mitt Romney was the only Republican senator who voted in favor of impeachment back in impeachment 1.0, back in the original. So, this is exactly what Rage is saying. I think Mitch would lead the charge to convict. Yeah, there's bad blood. There's a lot of bad blood to begin with. And then the idea about opening the field up in 2024, that's too much incentive for Republicans not to pile on. Because if Mitch McConnell says, hey, if he just tells them, and which he is, it's okay. Mitch says it's okay to vote for impeachment this time. Then you get 17, I believe the number is 17 Republican senators. Then we will never have to see Donald J. Trump run for president again. Though, I'm going to say the one downside to this. I did like watching Trump bully Republicans during the primaries last time. It was brutal. It was brutal during the primaries, but yeah, I don't even want the chance of a Donald J. Trump running for president in 2024. Buffering. Is it buffering? I don't know. I hope it's not buffering for everyone. Everything seems to be going swimmingly well. Okay, no buffering. Excellent. Excellent. It must be the power of Raisin Bran. All right, so what's our next story? Let's check it out. And don't worry, we're going to be getting to the Christian on Christian violence. I know that's what you all came here for. We're getting to that. I'm going to butcher this poor woman's name, Ayanna Pressley. She is a representative from my district here in Massachusetts. And if this is the Boston Globe story that everyone quoted from yesterday, that if you're on Reddit, if you're looked at any bits of media yesterday and saw this particular story, they all referenced it back to this Globe piece that had the worst title possible about how the Massachusetts delegation dealt with the chaos on the 6th. I'm going to check the chat to see if anyone knows what the story I'm going to be talking about with. Okay, so Ms. Pressley, she is a member of the Squad, the progressive group in the House that's pushing for progressive values, progressive policies. It seems in the midst of the chaos, her staffer, Ms. Groh, realized that all the panic buttons in her office were removed. Let me say that again. All the panic buttons in Representative Pressley's office were removed. Let's take a look at the story. As people rushed out of other buildings on Capitol grounds, staffers at Pressley's office barricaded the entrance with furniture and water jugs that piled up during the pandemic. Groh pulled out gas masks and looked for the special panic buttons in the office. Every panic button in my office had been torn out. The whole unit, she said, though they could come up with no rationale as to why. She had used them before and hadn't switched offices since then. As they were escorted to several different secure locations, Groh and Pressley and her husband tried to remain calm and vigilant, not only of rioters, but of officers they did not know or trust. Roll that around in your mind for a second. The panic buttons. Every one of the panic buttons. I don't know how many panic buttons there are. I don't know how many panic buttons there are in the room, but ripped out. And I was on Twitter earlier this morning. I was checking out Representative Pressley's Twitter account. It turns out that her husband caught COVID because, well, Probably because he was stuck on January 6th with a bunch of Republican no-maskers, with a bunch of representatives, with a bunch of politicians, with a bunch of Republican staffers who weren't wearing masks. And now Representative Presley's husband has COVID-19. Julie the Voice, how you doing, Julie? Oh, we're just talking about all the chaos, Julie. That's what we're doing today. We're talking about Representative Ayanna Presley's one of the squad having all of her panic buttons taken out of the office. David Paul says, that's effed up. Yeah, it is. I'm not a person who is a conspiracy. No, I don't have a tinfoil hat on. I talk about skepticism a lot. But if anyone knows, my line of thinking, it's like, yes, I do say that certain conspiracies have definitely occurred in our nation's history and world history. There's no doubt about that. Does that mean the Loch Ness Monster exists? Of course it doesn't. Does that mean Bigfoot exists? Of course it doesn't. But when you see something like, hey, all the panic buttons in the room were taken out, and they were there because they had to use them before, they hadn't changed offices, it makes you want to say, It makes you want to say, That's what it does. Never again. It doesn't take much to realize people do conspire. Yep, indeed. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. Never again. I really want to know who and how they did that panic button bull crap and how many officers were actually done that way. Well, that's a good question too. That's a good question too. Was she the only person to have those panic buttons taken away? Were there other members of the squad who had panic buttons taken out of their offices? Of course, without them telling them either. I'm going to say hello to Julie again because I like Julie. Hello, Julie. Yeah. So I found that to be one of the more disturbing stories that one of the squads obviously that had her panic button taken out of her room. Junk Shop Library says she's the only one I've heard say anything about it. Well, that's a good point. Just, right there. Missed it. She's the only one I've heard said anything about it. Dr. Mordecai. Oh, my house is covered in tinfoil. I don't know what to say about that. I'm lost for words. So hopefully there's going to be an investigation on why her panic buttons were taken away. That's a story worth following up. Call me crazy. But the thing is, it can easily get buried in all the chaos that's going on, with all the with everything that's going on. And I hope we don't lose track. I hope the press doesn't lose track of this story. God equals the square root of -1 says AOC did a scathing video on her experience that day. I've heard about that video. I've not seen about that video. Thank you for reminding me. I have to catch that. And James Henry saying something deep, close to my heart. You got to purge the police. You gotta purge the police. There's just so many stories that we could go over in the course of every day. And yeah, there are police amongst the Trumpists. They're in the midst of getting at least suspended from their police departments. But yeah, they're obvious that police were involved or in the Trump mob storming into the Capitol on the 6th. All right, so I talked about Christian on Christian violence. Let's talk about Christian on Christian violence because it's something to behold. Prophet Jeremiah Johnson apologized for falsely predicting that Trump would win. Then he received death threats from former Christian Trump supporters. Let me read that again. Prophet, and I love it how it's in. I'm going to see if I can do this right. Parentheses. Jeremiah Johnson apologized for falsely predicting that Trump would win. Then he received death threats from Christian Trump supporters. I found this little story of, on Pentecostals and Charismatics for Peace and Justice yesterday. Link to the story is down there in the description if you want to check it out. And hey, for those of you who are liking the video, thank you. Liking the stream, hitting this, smashing the like button. I appreciate it. It helps. It helps quite a bit, actually. So let's find out about what actually happened to the prophet. After Trump lost the election, Johnson, the prophet, quickly jumped on the conspiracy theorist bandwagon, claiming that the election was stolen from Trump. In fact, he put out his I'm sorry, I'm coughing. I'm coughing on the shout in front. I'm sorry. This isn't funny. In fact, he put his prophetic integrity on the line, along with other prophetic voices who had claimed that Trump would be reelected. And right from CBN News, you can see here, either a lying spirit has filled the mouths of numerous trusted prophetic voices in America, or Donald J. Trump really has won the presidency, and we are witnessing a diabolical and evil plan unfold to steal the election. Strong words from Prophet Jeremiah Johnson right after the election. Strong words, but not unheard. We've heard from a bunch of so-called Christian prophets, right? Saying that, oh, obviously Trump won the election. Obviously he won. Was those demonic forces trying to upturn the, throw the tables to, steal the election. And this particular prophet, this particular minister was in that camp. But then he did something remarkable, ladies and gentlemen, and small furry animals. He did something remarkable. He changed his mind. I would like to repent. This is a statement from the prophet. I'd like to repent for inaccurately prophesying Donald Trump would win a second term as president of the United States. See, so that's his problem right there. He was apologizing because the one thing you know about Trump and the Trump strategy book, and if you're a supporter of Trump or an apologist for Trump, never apologize. You never apologize, because apologizing, I'm doing my move here, because apologizing in the Trump mind, in the Trump supporter's mind, means weakness. It means weakness. I'd like to repent for inaccurately prophesying that Donald Trump would win a second term as president of the United States. I refuse to blame the saints and say it didn't come to pass because they didn't pray enough. Nor will I proclaim Donald Trump actually won, so I was right, but now it has been stolen from him. I believe the first statement seeks to alleviate the prophetic messenger from the responsibility of what he prophesied. And the second statement is filled with potential pride and unwillingness to humble himself and admit he was wrong. Wow. Admitting he was wrong. Donald Trump losing and actually saying Trump lost, that Trump did not win the election. What? Good job, Mr. Prophet. I may not appreciate or approve of your crazy sayings or your fascistic ways under normal circumstances, but at least there's a little bit of integrity, there in your heart. And you were brave enough to come forward and say you were wrong. Trump lost the election. But how do you think Trump supporters, Christian Trump supporters, reacted to Prophet Jeremiah admitting this? Do you think it was positive? Do you think they showed the compassion, Christ-like compassion? Let's take a look. He wrote on Facebook, over the last 72 hours, I have received multiple death threats and thousands upon thousands of emails from Christians saying the nastiest and the most vulgar things I have ever heard towards my family and ministry. I have been labeled a coward, sellout, a traitor to the Holy Spirit, and cussed out at least 500 times. We have lost ministry partners every hour and counting. Death threats. And when he says he lost ministry partners, that means he's lost money. That means he lost his money. His ministry lost money. His family has been targeted. And thousands of emails. Thousands. In just the last 72 hours. In just the last 72 hours. Never Again says, guess he knows how the rest of us feel now. Yeah, when you're on, yeah. Typically this guy wasn't on the poo end of the stick, right? Typically he's not on the poo end of the stick. But this time he is, because he tried to do the right thing in this one instance. Trump supporters assume the vast majority of white people voted for Trump. You're right about that, James Henry. You know, it's this kind of collective delusion. It's similar, and I like to reference this to the Iraqis, is that the Sunnis, which are a minority in Iraq, always assumed that Sunnis were the majority. They were just told that over and over again. So it just seemed right that they were in power. These lies, of course, get in the way of an effective government running. All right, let's see what else everyone says. Ah, yes, Junk Shop Library says, compassion, the noted characteristic of Trump supporters. It's insane. Sean, I hear Christian backpedaling is great cardio. You know, it's really tough on the treadmill. I'm not deaf enough. I don't have enough footwork to be able to really backpedal in that way. Brainbug says, rumor has it Trump lost the election. So once again, the prophet, if you're just tuning in, this prophet Jeremiah Johnson, who jumped on the Trump train before the election, who was still on the Trump train saying that either the devil or something, after the election, he was definitely still pro-Trump. Trump won the election, but then he wisened up and said, hey, Trump didn't win the election. We were just wrong. I was wrong in implying all the other prophets were wrong. And he got, within 72 hours, multiple death threats and thousands of emails saying nasty, nasty things about his family. And this guy's lost money too. I mean, I'm not sad. I am not sad. Oh, yeah. Dank dude. Good seeing you, Dank dude. Trumpies believe everyone is brainwashed except them. Very delusional. Yeah. Yeah. Quite so. All right. So yeah, like I said, the whole story is down in the description. Check it out. Any of the stories that we just went over. God equals the square of -1. Jesus prophet, indeed. And James Henry says, I do not feel sorry for him. You reap what you sow. It's a very small violin, I hear, for him. On one hand, he did do something right. But it just shows you that if you're either all in or you're out with Christian Trump supporters, with evangelical Trump supporters. You're either in or you're out. It isn't like someone who is like a part-time cultist. I don't think there's any such thing as a part-time cultist, to tell you the truth. You're either a cultist or you're out. You're just not a cultist Monday, Wednesdays, and every other weekend. No, you're in it. You're in it all the time. And this guy tried to play it. Prophet Jeremiah tried to be reasonable. The rage. Love it, rage. We should have a National Apprentice Day on January 20th. Joe Biden has to look in the camera and tell Trump, you're fired. You're fired. I'd pay for that. You know, if there was like a fundraiser, if there was a Democratic fundraiser to get Biden to look at the camera and tell Trump you're fired, I'd pay something for that. I'd share a couple of pennies. Sean says, I don't hear a violin, I hear a fiddle, and it's Charlie Daniels playing The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Indeed, sir. Indeed. All right. Yeah. Okay, Simply Secular's got to go. Good having you here, Secular. Julie Voice says, truthiness. Funny how science denial and a lying leader kills hundreds of thousands of people. Man. All right, so that was our Christian on Christian section of the show today. I guess if the moral of that story is if you're an evangelical pastor and you're having some kind of cognitive dissonance about what's going on, lie if you want to keep your job, lie if you want to keep the money coming in from your flock. Of course, if you have some integrity, you wouldn't be in that business anyway. Maybe you could sell cars. Maybe you could just get a job. Maybe you would just get a job as against preying on people. Oh, I'm sorry for the pun. That's just uncalled for. All right, so we're at the part of the show where I just want to talk about things that make me happy. At least one thing that makes me happy. And actually, you know, I saw this on Rage's Facebook page, and I'd seen it a couple of other times too. But I wanted to share this to you. I want to shout out to Rage for putting this up on his Facebook account. It's about Parler, the right wing, now defunct, or maybe it's just sleeping, looking for new servers. But it's about Parler. A hacker archived every single post on Parler from the date of the Capitol riot, complete with metadata, including GPS locations of the users, and she's about to make it public. I have the whole story linked down in the description, but let's take a look at a snippet. Operating on little sleep I'm not going to try to pronounce this, Donkenby began the work of archiving all of Parler's posts, ultimately capturing around 99.9% of its content. In a tweet early Sunday, I'm just going to call them @Donk. @Donk said she was crawling some 1.1 Parler video URLs. These are original unprocessed raw files as uploaded to Parler with all associated metadata, she said. Included in this data tranche, I'm going to go with that, tranche, I don't know. Now more than 56 terabytes in size. @Donk confirmed that the raw video files include GPS metadata pointing to exact locations of where the videos were taken. Gosh, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what's going to happen when all that information comes public. I think a lot of right-wing fascists are going to get doxxed. They're just going to get doxxed. They're just going to get doxxed. And they're going to get fired. They're going to get fired from their jobs. Junk Shop Library, 56 TB. Jesus, hopping Christ. All right, you didn't say hopping, but I just thought I'd throw the hopping in there. Yeah, James Henry, evidence. There is evidence of of bad actors doing bad things. Tons of people. Can you imagine all the videos, all the metadata just being out there in the open? Critical Cripple says it's gonna be like Ashley Madison all over again. Ashley Madison with Nazis, with fascists, indeed. I don't know if this @Donk has a Patreon account, but that would be, once again, something worth contributing to right there. Junk Shop, do treason, lose your job. Difficult logic to argue. That's right. If you're a cop and suddenly you've been doxxed by @Donk because of your stupid Parler profile, uploading pro-fascist videos. Yeah, if you're a police officer and you lose your job, I'm not crying for you, Argentina. I am not going to be doing that. Not doing that at all. Sean says, jumping Jesus on a pogo stick. If Jesus was going to jump on a pogo stick, it would be epic. That's what I'd say. Yeah, so that is something that I hope in whatever drama or whatever you're struggling with during today, I hope you keep this in your heart, that there's going to be a mass doxing of lunatics of Parler, from the Capitol riot. And if that doesn't make your day happy, well, if that doesn't help you today, then there's always the show tomorrow. There's always the show tomorrow. And tomorrow's Friday, right? Tomorrow's Friday. We're going to have fun. I have no idea. Oh, wait a minute. Brainbug asked, did you see the Olympic swimmer that was caught on camera in the Capitol in his Team USA shirt? No, I did not, Brainbug. I didn't see that. What confuses? Okay, yeah, I did not see this. I was watching footage from the incident, from the riot yesterday with my girlfriend. And it's like, what's the story with this Canadian flag, right? Because there was there's Canadian flag right there in front of the riot, and my girlfriend knew there was a guy from Alberta. I guess it was a cop who came specifically down for the riot on the 6th. Crazy. Trump supporters claim they're Christian, but I'm pretty sure they actually worship Trump. Yeah, it's all tribalism. It's all tribalism, and the Trump supporters, these evangelical Christians, are much more interested in Trump than they are with Jesus. If they can cherry pick the Bible and wrap their minds around that and their hearts around that, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to being and elevating Trump into some kind of weird orangey messiah. Critical Crimple, indeed. There does seem to be more Trump worship than Jesus. Indeed. America, James Henry has a choice to make. Either you do something with your child, will become, a Nazi. Yeah, one of the things I have to tell you, being a father, I have tried consistently to educate my children about fascism, about dictators, about how our system is supposed to work, and about secularism and skepticism. And because you can't do that. You can't trust the education system in this country to do that job for you. And it's really our job, for parents here in the United States of America, to really educate our kids and to make it explicit about the nature of fascism, the definition of fascism. Let's see. Well, the junk shop. Oh, good job, junk shop. Well, the last time the Capitol was sacked, the Canadians were involved. Of course, that was during the War of 1812. Maybe it was a historical callback. Hello. Yes. All right. So, everyone. Oh, Julie the Voice. Good point. Send that data to the FBI. That Parler data. There's all these folks have kids and children who don't deserve the face of social consequences for what their kids did. Well, that's an interesting point too. Kids would suffer. Kids would suffer. And definitely send it to the FBI, because that's how the arrests are going to be made, right? That's how the arrest is going to be done. And racism is learned at the dinner table. Sad but true. But skepticism is also learned at the dinner table, and that's important too. You just can't trust the system, the education system, to make your kids good skeptics. Everyone, leading out on a high note. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what's going to happen in the zeitgeist between now and then. Thanks for showing up. Please hit the like button. Support the channel any way you want to. You know where I am. Check out my latest blog post. Take care, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.